Well, your mom had one, your dad worked on one, your grandma definitely owned one because I got it from her. A lot of you were born on one of these. A lot of you were conceived on one of these. Your grandma for sure was conceived on one of these. Big bore two strokes. Big bore, like 500. Right here, guys, we have two 1991 CR500s. Both are in different states of disrepair, repair, needing repair. One's completely apart. The truth of the matter, guys, is we're located here today for one very serious reason. These bikes are kind of doing a little bit of a history repeats itself kind of thing, if you haven't noticed. I don't know if you guys seen the prices of these things lately, but they're getting up there. They're up there with like cars. Like I've heard some guys over in Europe paying at least 20 grand to get these things shipped over to them, obviously in better condition, not like that. But the truth of the matter, guys, is these bikes are making a resurgence. These bikes are making a resurgence for a very valid reason too. I said history repeats itself. Do you guys see any similarity in what's going on with these nearly 40-year-old dirt bikes and cars? So recently, I was talking with a buddy and we're talking about Oldsmobile 442s and Chevy Chevelles and Ford Mustangs and, you know, Cobras and GTOs, you name it, right? All the Hemi Barracuda top of the line cars that back in the day, they were just super powerful and a lot of people didn't pay a lot of attention to them unless they were racing. Well, we kind of have something similar going on here. You see, when these things came out in the late 90s in this form, the only people that were really riding these were racers, racing the open class. You know, there was obviously a lot of other people that are buying them for, you know, to hop around on trails or the desert, right? So it's because they had back then very broad power bands compared to everything else that was out. You can tractor them around in first. I don't recommend it, but you could tractor them around in first. You can burn blast them in second. You can putt for miles in third. You can start to let your eyes water in fourth and fifth. That was a different breed of human. You see, back in the day, guys like, you know, Jean-Michel Bale, John Bailey, Jeff Stanton, Jeff Ward, so many great names come to mind when I think open class 500 racing. And there were many others that I didn't name. These guys made a living racing big bore 500s until something happened. Well, now you ask your grandpa what happened and he'll tell you, well, everyone started getting hurt. And they blamed it on the ATCs, they blamed it on the big bore two strokes. Did they though? Is that the truth? You see, through my investigation, we'll call it, through my research, it wasn't so much about people getting hurt. Sure, people got hurt on these, and that's dumb not to even, you know, recognize. But the truth of the matter was they were too complicated to ride, meaning they were hard to start. It took a strong leg to kick these things over. And then once they got over, you better hope that thing didn't flame out. But now, guys, this day and age, nearly almost 2024, these bikes are making a resurgence unlike any other motorcycle in our entire history ever. And that's pretty something. That's pretty something. That's pretty something, all right. With companies like Built 500, BRC, TMR, a lot of other three-letter acronym words. A lot of companies, I mean, MRE, I could name them all day. I really can, because there's so many people that are making reproduction products for these things now that a lot of people saw coming down the pike that, well, how am I going to get transmission gears? How am I going to get shifter levers? How am I going to get pistons and cylinders and crankcases? Now all that stuff's taken care of with those aforementioned companies. Some of them even going as far to manufacture, based off of the CR500 design, an entire engine made a billet of their own. I'm talking Built 500. AJ Wagner obviously has been a huge long-time fan of 500s. You can tell he's the one that created Service Honda back in the late 90s, all the way through 2000s, and now it's built500.com. With that kind of attention being poured back into these machines nearly 40 years later, is there something that we're missing? Is there something about these bikes that are truly unlike anything else? Yes. Yes, yes there is. 100%. Few things. We have methods now to start them. Decompression heads, a little button that you click on the cylinder head that allows enough compression to pass by for you to kick these things over. Also, better porting, better reeds, better carburetor options, better everything. We are able now to make these motorcycles more rideable. They were already extremely reliable, but keep them reliable and rideable, which has a lot of people excited, including some of the youth in the industry, which I think is rad. Carson Brown recently put out a video ripping around a 500, and his number one complaint out of everything was that he kept bending frames. That's right, bending frames. These things, got to understand this. Back in the day, it was about making power and as light as possible. You sure? I mean, if you wanted power and a heavy bike, you could buy an XR 600, XR 650, something around those lines, right? But if you wanted something raceable, that's lightweight, flickable, that's not gonna, completely rip your arm off every time you go home to put it on the stand after a day of riding, these things were it. But now there's, even kits that you can buy to help strengthen up the frames. I did that recently on my 93 Super Evo, where build some rigidity back into the frame in those weak spots, and then they won't bend after that. But guys, after all these years, after 40 years, almost, right? These things are more popular than ever. So what are we gonna do today? Guys, this is my 1991, this is my buddy Tom's 91. Today, now we're not gonna be rebuilding into some beautiful machine just yet. But one thing I wanna do is I wanna drive home simplicity and how that's changed this market also. Nowadays with the newer 4-strokes, e-bikes that are coming out, your Stark Vargases and the Altas. What else is out there? I can't even do the Segways, Surons. With all those bikes coming out, it complicates things. Not just your normal guy anymore inside of his home, shop, garage, whatever, can just rip those things apart and build it back and rebuild it and it's back on the track. No. Now you need a little bit more than a college degree. But these things were so simple and effective. A crank, a piston, every 200-300 hours, not embellishing. These things could get hours. 200 to 300 hours on a piston crank combo was not unheard of. It wasn't encouraged, but it wasn't unheard of. And that is just something you will never get out of a newer racing 4-stroke. Granted, the newer style racing 4-strokes, your YZ450, CRFs, RMZ, KX, KTMs, they all bring something very spectacular to the table, which is handling and power. It's a combination of those two. Electric start, hydraulic clutches, they allow you to ride the bikes faster for a lot longer than ever before. So, as I was starting to get into until I went on my little tangent there, we're going to take this thing back to shop, garage, whatever, and we're going to get this thing running today. We have the engine, we have all the components. I'm not going to be cleaning things. Really what the thing is I want to do a full frame up on this, but not right now. But I also don't want it sitting around in parts where they're inevitably going to get lost, broken, thrown away. It is windy. What in the heck? It was such a nice, rainy, gloomy day until the wind just decided to kick. I don't know. We're going to take this thing back to the shop, garage, whatever. We're going to throw it up on the stand, and we're going to start to assemble this thing just to put it away, though. We are going to run it. We might ride it. I don't know. I'm missing a lot of things I got to find, and but that's kind of the point. You got to get it together. Let me show you, though, how simple these things are put back together. Man, just look at them. An era of cool that a lot of you didn't get to enjoy. I was there. Still is really cool. So pistons have also come a long way with these machines. The OEM ones, sure, they're great. They last a long time. They do the job. Any brand, your Wiseco's, they're all fine. Wasner, I feel like, has perfected it. It's significantly lighter in the hand. Granted, this one has a wrist pin. This one does not. But, still even with that, this definitely feels chunkier. This feels a lot more lightweight. Forged, guys, if you didn't know, difference really. Cast, this is a cast piston. Just about any OEM piston on the planet is going to be cast. Now, there's some guys that absolutely prefer cast. Some absolutely prefer forged. And there is a very big difference. So much so as there are forums that you can find mostly in the snowmobile world about people who would break in forged pistons. You see, forge is basically a giant press die that's in the shape of the piston, and they get an aluminum slug, they heat it up, and then it stamps it into the shape that you see here, and then the manufacturers go in with a CNC mill, they cut everything out, they get it all to spec, but it's that driven die that squishes all the metal together that just makes it a little bit more stronger than cast, actually a lot stronger than cast, but there is pros and cons. See, for your everyday guy, the guy that's gonna come out in the morning, fire up his bike for a couple seconds and take off, the cast ones are actually great. It's a forged, because they are so much stiffer and thicker. I mean, you gotta think of it as like, it's just more dense than a cast. You do get failures with forged and you do get failures with cast, but they're different types of failures. Cast pistons, seen 100 times, they will shatter and drop pieces down to the bottom end that you gotta fish out, and it might destroy your crank, it might destroy your main bearings, your seals, it could cause a lot of damage. But the forged guys, these will actually not shatter, but instead what they'll do is these have been known to stick to the sides of the cylinder, which is a lot easier to fix. You get a little aluminum that sticks to the side of the cylinder, you go in with some muriatic acid and a hone, and you're back to the races with a fresh piston and gasket kit. Not the same with the cast, but these do require different break-in cycles. This one, you could, basically plug in and go. And this one, you got to take it through several heat cycles to get it to break in, to conform to its new surroundings. Then after that, let her eat, and you are going to see longer lives out of a forge. You will see good lives out of cast. OEMs, like I said, the cast OEM ones, it wasn't unheard of to get 200, 300 hours out of a piston. No, nothing else does that these days in a dirt bike form. But the forged, if you want to have performance and you want to have that longevity at the same time, go with your forged. Just realize that there is a little harder break-in. You bring it up to temperature, start the bike, bring it up to temperature, shut it off, put it around your block, nothing, no high revs. Get it up to operating temperature, come home, let it shut off for a few hours. You want that thing coming back down to as cold as possible. Fire to begin, and the more times you do that, the better, honestly. There's no magical number. But the more you do that, the better in making these things last the longest possible. All right, guys, today on the 1 Minute with Wossner, we are going to be talking about engine building and giving you a helpful tip the next time you put together your engine. So, some of you may know, some of you don't. If you've watched my videos before, then you definitely know when you order a new set of gaskets. These happen to be from Wossner, and yes, I am wearing my Dorks right now because I need to see up close. When you are assembling an engine, it is extremely important to lube your gaskets. Some of you just shook in your cheese a little bit right there. I felt it. What you want to do, get yourself a little oil, like engine oil is fine, or regular bearing grease. That's it. I'm going to be using bearing grease today. A little dabbing on the finger, and you just want to get it between your thumb and your finger first and just start rubbing it in all the way around the gasket. What this is going to do, this is going to help the bond between the two metals that you're trying to gasket. In our case, the cylinder and base. It's going to help create a nice seal. It does another thing too. So you guys, obviously, if you've ever taken off a top end before that's been on a bike for years, getting the gaskets off takes longer than almost building a top end. Scraping them off with the X-Acto knife or a razor blade or a gasket scraper, either way, it takes a long freaking time. Well, if you pre-lube your gaskets like this, that'll be a thing of the past. So, on your next build, do that. Remember not to use RTV as a lubricant. Otherwise, go with grease, go with the engine oil, lube up your gaskets. It's a 1 Minute with Wossner. I'm going to start getting the top end of this thing together. We got a nice piece of jewelry too I'm going to show you. It's going to be the only pretty thing on this bike when we get it together. It'll be well worth it. Let's get it going. So the next cool piece of tech that I want to show you guys that I'm talking about when I say these companies, they're making it a lot easier on us to get not only reproduction parts, but parts that actually fix a problem on these bigger bores. This here is from Fathead Racing. And you can see we got something on that the stock one does not have. Sure, everything else looks the same. Well, not really in there. Because one thing that Fathead Racing does that I think is super cool is he makes interchangeable domes for the inside of your head. So if you want to race it and run race gas, there's an interchangeable dome. If you want to run pump gas, there's a pump gas dome. He has all of them. And not only that, maybe something really cool. And he'll, for a small fee, laser etch your name into the side of it, which I think is just super rad. Luke was gracious enough to kick one down for this here project when I told him everything that I'm going to be doing with it in the future. He couldn't wait to get a head over to me. And just look at the finish on this thing too, guys. Like, come on. So what you do is, before you start it, you push in this button. Kick over the bike normally. Then when it fires up, it'll automatically, when it takes off, it'll actually kick that thing right back out. That's in, and it'll pop it out on its own. And all it is a tiny little hole right there. That's all you need. His profiles on his heads are fantastic. This is just a pump gas dome. And another cool thing about these is it does away with those MLS head gaskets that they just... Instead, he sends you a pack of 2 outer and inner head gaskets in O-ring type. So you can see the little channels in there. You lay the black O-ring on the outside and the orange one on the inside, and then literally you're off to the races. So thank you, Luke. I'm going to get this thing popped on here. We're not far away. I got the cylinder torque down. I got a lot of hardware I need to go through on the bench right here, find where everything goes. Coil, throttle cable, cooling system. Ba-ba! Dun, 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 dun. Let's get this thing on. Guys, I would love to tell you that this has been a breeze and that it's so simple, a caveman can do it, but this thing has sat apparently way too long. So the problem is I had a broken coil wire, found that because I had no spark. Luckily I found the broken coil wire. It always happens right at the little connector. So I replaced the wire, we got spark. Then the little O-ring for the petcock decided it doesn't want to be an O-ring and seal anything anymore, and so it was just dumping fuel. I mean, cascading fuel out of there. But I have enough gas in the float bowl to fire it up. So let's just do that because I need to hear this thing run before I let it sit until we can get around to a full restoration on this thing. First fire. No radiators. I just wanted to hear it run. Well, there you guys go. I mean, it is dark now, so I have been at this for a minute. Now, my greatest setbacks were actually pretty easy to figure out once I figured them out. Smudge, why didn't you tell me you guys had a smudge on the lens? Obviously, things like a broken wire, they're gonna find you. I mean, it happens. These are old bikes, like I said, nearly 40 years old, some of them. So it's important to check your sparks, check, make sure you're getting fuel to the spark plug. But I mean, it's really just that easy. I did schlum around a little bit. I am watching the Packers-Chiefs game right now, and so I was a little distracted by that. But guys, my point was, let me get you up on the tripods so we can talk seriously here. My whole point was with this video, guys, is you can literally find these bikes about anywhere, a lot of places. I mean, in different states of repair and disrepair. And, if you have the time and you have a little bit of cash, let's be honest, you need a little bit of cash for this, do it. Build it. Build something amazing. It doesn't have to be a CR500. Shoot, it doesn't even have to be a big bore. It should be a big bore if you're following this channel. We're kind of a big bore group. I do have small bores. I got a lot of different bores. I got a lot of big bores. Big bores are kind of my thing. It's not my own thing, but it's definitely one of my things. And if I earned your prescription, getting tired, your boy's getting a little tired. If I earned your subscription today, I'd greatly appreciate you just leaving a like. And thank you so much for watching as we delve into more 500s. Right behind you is another 89 that we got to get building on, and I mean soon. I have the engine back on where you can't see. It's ready to just get the cases split, get the cases off to sandblasting so we can sandblast down the cases and get those things all vapor honed. We're thinking a little bit of a stroker on this one, something a little bit different than usual. So that's pretty exciting. But at the end of the day, guys, it's all about having something that's built, not bought. It's about putting your own hard time and effort into something. And I would really love to see your guys' bikes. On Instagram, you'll find me at LundMX, obviously, same name as the channel. I'm the same way on Facebook. Tag me in your guys' projects. I want to see what you got going on. I want to see how I can help. So definitely stay, what is it? Stay abreast. Is that the right word? Stay, follow, subscribe, all that jumble jab with the channel as we get building on some more 500s, because we got to get these things ready for the biggest sand dune race in North America. I am talking about Big Bore Addicts, where it's only big bore 2-strokes racing at Sand Mountain, Nevada in 2024 in April. Guys, there's a Facebook group solely dedicated to this event. I encourage every single one of you guys to come. I would really love to meet a lot of you. I got to meet a lot of you last year, but I would love to see even more of you guys bring out, even if you don't have a 500, you have something that's overboard, bring it out. Throw a paddle on, grab a dune flag, and come out to Sand Mountain, Nevada. It's near the Fallon, Nevada, and I would love to ride with you guys. But we got a lot of work to do, especially on this 89 over here. That's out of camera for a reason, because I told you guys you weren't going to see that one until it's finished. But the 291s, we got this one running. The plan as of right now, I know I already told you, I'm going to say it again. We're going to put it off to the side, kind of throw it in the back with the rest of the 500 stacks in here, because I want to dedicate a lot of good time to this. I want to pull down the frames, send it out to Mound House Powder Coating, have them do the full powder coating on it. The whole gambit, the whole enchilada, the whole short school bus, for me. But that's the plan. I want to get this thing done right. I want it to look like this other one that belongs to my buddy Tom. But yeah, guys, I love every single one of you. 500s, make them. Just find one broken, bust it up, get yourself a repair manual, talk to some experts, and fix that thing up. I don't care what make it is. They're all awesome. Every single one of them. Every single big bore is awesome. Find one, save up for one. in the future we'll probably be giving one away, so make sure you stay up to date for that, because I'd love to give you guys one of these bikes because they're truly, truly awesome. When we hit 100 subscribers, I'm already giving away the CRF 450R. That's going to be just stupid, insanely nice, and the only way you can do that is by using the Rocky Mountain link down in the description. You just shop around as usual, but you just use that link, shop around Rocky Mountain as usual, and when we hit 100,000 subs, we're going to start building that CRF 450R. That's going to be just the most incredible bike ever. And then we'll give it to one of you guys, and all you had to do was buy parts that you're going to buy anyway, using a store that you were going to use anyway. The only difference is you use my affiliate link. So guys, I'm going to close it down right here, go inside, eat some dinner, finish watching this Packers-Chiefs game. I love every single one of you. We will see you on the next one. It's a promise. I don't know what next Monday's video is going to be about. I haven't gotten that far yet, but we'll get there. I think we'll get there. But until then, we'll see you then. Love you guys.